All right, let's jump right in. Because the way we all write software, it's going through this massive, fundamental shift. I mean, we're not just talking about a smarter autocomplete anymore. We're talking about something way more powerful, something that's literally changing what it even means to be a developer. And this quote right here, it just nails it. It sets up the two huge concepts we're going to break down: vibe coding and agentic coding. Think of it like this. Vibe coding gets you a super fast copilot sitting right next to you. But agentic coding, that gives you an intelligent partner who can actually fly the plane all by itself. All right, first up, let's dig into that copilot idea. This is what people are calling vibe coding, and honestly, it's already a game changer for a ton of developers out there right now. So what is vibe coding? At its heart, it's a conversation. You're not painstakingly writing out every single line of code anymore. Instead, you describe the vibe, right? You explain the outcome you want, the functionality you're aiming for, just using natural language. And the AI, your copilot, it takes that intent and translates it into real working code. It just handles all that tedious syntax for you. And this is a big but. It's not as simple as just bossing an AI around. To really make this copilot model work, your role as a developer has to change. You've got to evolve. You're no longer the master of syntax. You become the master strategist, the guide. Your value, your real skill, now comes from these 5 core areas. First, it's about high-level thinking. You have to frame the problem clearly for the AI. Then, it's about the framework, knowing which architectural patterns to suggest. You also need checkpoints, using something like Git as a safety net so you can mess around without breaking everything. Debugging becomes a team sport with the AI. And finally, context. You have to feed the AI all the information it needs to succeed. See the shift? You're the director now, not just the person typing. Okay, so that copilot model is cool, but it's really the stepping stone to the next giant leap: agentic coding. And this is where things get really interesting. We're going from having one copilot to having a whole autonomous crew at our command. Agentic coding? It's a completely different way of thinking. It's a whole new paradigm. You're not copiloting anymore, you're delegating. You hand off a high-level goal to an autonomous AI agent, and it just goes. It plans the work, it executes the code, and it even debugs its own mistakes, all with minimal help from you. Let's put them side by side, because the difference is night and day. With vibe coding, the AI's autonomy is pretty low. It's an assistant, you're the director. But with agentic coding, the AI's autonomy is high. It's the executor. And your role? You become the architect, the supervisor. The whole interaction flips from a constant back-and-forth conversation to you just delegating a task and then monitoring its progress. And how is this even possible? Well, this autonomy comes from a whole new toolkit baked right into these agents. We're talking about the ability to understand goals, to plan out multiple steps, to use other tools, to reason through problems, and get this, to even correct themselves when they screw up. That's the real magic. Look, this isn't just some far-off theory. This is happening now. Take a look at this real-world example with Google's agent called Jules. The goal was pretty complex: integrate an API into a robotics codebase. So what did Jules do? It cloned the repo, read the documentation to figure out what was going on, pinpointed the exact files it needed to change, created new classes, injected the new code, and then, this is awesome, it even updated the documentation for other human developers. And to top it all off, it committed everything to a new branch, ready for a human to review. The whole thing, start to finish, completely on its own. And its power goes way beyond just adding a single feature. Think bigger. Think about those huge, soul-crushing jobs, like migrating an entire legacy code base from, say, Python 2 to Python 3. You know, the kind of systematic, tedious, error-prone task that nobody wants to do. That is the absolute sweet spot for an autonomous agent. It can save literally hundreds, if not thousands, of human hours. So, okay, if these agents are doing all this heavy lifting, all this coding, what's left for us? What's our role in this new world? It's a fair question. Well, like we've been saying, your role just evolves. It shifts up a level. You go from being that hands-on director in the trenches to being the high-level architect and supervisor. looking at the big picture.
Which brings us to a pretty stark new reality. Your new job effectively is agent boss. You're managing a team of AI developers.
And here's the part that should really make you sit up and pay attention. Your new team, they work 24/7. They don't sleep. They don't stop. They don't take coffee breaks. They just execute relentlessly. And what does that mean? It means there's a huge, critical need for human oversight and control. Because someone has to be in charge of this nonstop workforce. As the agent boss, you're actually more important than ever. Your job is to define the mission, to set the high-level strategy. You put up the architectural guardrails and policies. You monitor the agent's progress. You check the logs. You review and validate the final results. And most importantly, you're the final gatekeeper. You're the one responsible for quality and safety, making those crucial judgment calls that an AI just can't make. In a way, every developer is becoming a manager. So when we look to the future, it's not really about picking a side, vibe coding versus agentic coding. The real power is going to come from weaving them together into a brand new kind of workflow.
The future is a hybrid. You'll use vibe coding for the fun, creative stuff, the brainstorming, the rapid prototyping. Then, once you've got a solid idea, you hand it off to your team of agents for the heavy-duty autonomous execution. And through that whole pipeline, from start to finish, you, the human, are the one in control. You're the boss.
So this really isn't science fiction anymore. The agents are reporting for duty. They are here and they are ready to work. The only question left is, are you ready to be their boss?